Can you hear me, Tatiana? Okay, good. You can hear too, Rayan? Okay, very good. Sorry about that. I had enabled the discussion mode for audio. I think I have switched it back to listen only for now, and maybe try this later. Let's get started. This is basically continuation of what we discussed last time. So I sent invitation to only people who attended last few times because otherwise this is not going to make much sense. Um, so what I wanted to do first was to basically do a recap of what we covered last time. Can you see my screen too? Okay, very good. So just wanted to do a recap of what we discussed. So we talked about Google tools, many of them as it relates to your email, uh, webs, everything that you need to have your profiles on to make sure all Google assets are coordinated for your marketing efforts. And I hope you had an opportunity to go back and look at everything and make sure all those are in place. We've gone through all the different items that you need to be checking off when you're launching a new website or moving it to a new platform or any of that sort. And most importantly, the third bullet here, baseline report for brand presence in search engines and social media. Did any of you get a chance to look at that? Yeah, very good. So if you have any questions on that, definitely we can go over that report and see where you have gaps and help you fill those. And of course, securing online profiles on some of the major search engine and social media platforms. Then switching over to local SEO. And I'm going to keep stressing on the local SEO because 2018 and moving forward, this is going to be a really huge strategy for mostly all businesses, mainly because local and mobile work very closely together. And since mobile marketing has been, a trending topic, and mostly all businesses have uh, are considering to have strategies on those. Local is one of the key strategy for mobile as well, mainly because how you search when you search on mobile phones, you have an option to do search for near me. So that's the feature that really taps into how you rank in local search results. And so we talked about the ecosystem for local search, importance of citations, and of course, how reviews impact your local search rankings, and guidelines to follow when you're collecting reviews from either your employees or past clients, current clients, acquaintances, and all that. So just make sure that you're following those guidelines. And review is another big local SEO is a big strategy, and inside of local SEO, reviews are going to be very critical to be successful in your local SEO campaign. So make sure that you have a system in place, whether it is a Google business page or Yelp or uh, review collecting you can use. But if nothing else, Google business page and Yelp are a great place to have your reviews. And Yelp will not show your I'm not talking about Yelp advertising. This is a free profile that you need to have on Yelp so people can go write reviews on Yelp platform. And Yelp will not display your profile if there are no reviews. So make sure that you're starting to collect reviews on Yelp as well, because people do look at Yelp. I'm not very uh, sure about the quality of leads that you get from Yelp, but I've gotten business from Yelp, which are some of them are good leads from there. So make sure that you're paying attention to collecting reviews on those platforms. If you have any questions as I keep going, just type it in the chat box, so I'll answer as we go on. So now moving on, continuing from those topics that we talked about last time. So I wanted to touch on some of the ranking factors that local search is impacted by. And these are, again, most of these are guidelines are published by Google on how to be successful in local SEO. And stressing more on keyword research. This is make sure you have at your disposal that you can work on for all these campaigns, and local SEO is one of them. And where would you use your keywords in your local SEO? These are the keywords that you're going to try to incorporate in your profiles on local platforms, whether it's Google Business Page or Facebook or Twitter. Um, as I mentioned last time, use a spreadsheet that I think I've shared that with you before. If you don't have it, shoot me an email. I can send it to you. Use that spreadsheet to put some thought into how you want your profile to be designed online so that it's consistent across the board. So this is where you're going to put some thought into what those keywords are going to be based on the products and services that you offer, and also incorporate those keywords in your profiles. And one of the good examples is LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, when you go into your profile, it's not just about keeping your completing your profile, and you also have to optimize your profile because people do search for products and services and industries on LinkedIn search, and that's where your profile is going to show up when you have optimized your profile for the keywords that are relevant to your products and services. And definitely claim your business on Google My Business page and being local. And I've had several clients or prospects in the past a couple of weeks that have had issues with their Google My Business page. We recently got those clients, but the people that handled their online marketing in the past have claimed their business page, but these businesses don't have access to their business page. Fortunately, uh, Google has a process to reclaim the ownership. So if any of you in that situation, make sure that you follow that process to get control of your Google business page. And Google displays just a part of the email address that of the person or the company that has currently claimed your page, and you may be able to recognize that, and then click on request access, and that will take you through the steps to request access or reclaim ownership of that page. And name, address of Hello, can you hear me? Looks like we lost connection for a couple of seconds. Not sure what's going on. I think internet is acting up too here in the office. Anyway, I was talking about address, phone number consistency on your website, Google business page, and all the local directories. And writing localized content. I'm going to cover that a little bit in the next few slides that I have. And this is really critical, especially if you have your business address as one location, for example, in Plano, but if you want to cover areas around Plano. So how do you accommodate for keyword searches that are coming from cities around you? So we'll go over that in a minute here. And citations on online business directories, reputation marketing. So we're going to cover a lot about local landing pages in the next few slides. And of course, backlinks to local landing pages as well. So the complex ecosystem, why it's important for you to submit to all the data aggregators. If you have not looked at the utilities that I shared with you last time, again, either look at moz.com or brightlocal.com, whitespark.com. These are all the different providers that can help you fix your local search listings. Of course, you can reach out to me. We provide this as a service for our clients so that you don't have to spend time on managing this because it's not just about submitting your profile. You have to, there are several back and forth that happen with these and verifications and stuff. You had to do it in order to get those verifications completed. Local search this particular area and the local Google AdWords on the top, SEO that's organic at the bottom, and map and these Google business page and reviews and stuff that's in the center. So this is the search strategy that Google is stressing on, especially for businesses that are targeting local market. Why local landing page? Most of the service area businesses, uh, it's impossible for these businesses to obtain rankings in Google's local pack, which is that 3 pack that's displayed right below um, the um, the Google AdWords. So there's only 3 entries that are displayed there, and how many businesses can reach there, right? If you can, it's possible for you to rank there, as I mentioned, if your business is in Plano and if you have a Google business page for Plano. But what about, for cities around Plano? So how do you go about improving brand awareness in these surrounding cities? So the answer is to pursue organic rankings for those cases rather than local ones, and you do that by developing landing pages on your website for each one of these cities that you want to focus on. So how does local landing page work? Identify the key cities in which you serve beyond your city of location. So as I mentioned, my business is physically located in Plano, but I do work with clients in Frisco, Allen, Addison, Fort Worth, around here, right? So how do I make sure the people can find me when they're looking for these cities? Because uh, anybody who's looking online for a product or a service, they're looking for providers in the surrounding vicinity of where they work or live. They're not gonna it or more than 15-20 mile radius usually, unless it's something online you can do, because businesses typically like to do business with someone they know locally, and they can meet if they wanted to. So they look for someone who's close to them, right? So that's why this strategy is important for you to focus on. Create a unique page of content on your website for each of these cities. And you may also have a menu item on your website, uh, like cities we serve, right? Or how we can reach us, and list all those cities that you focus on in that menu, so people can go there to those pages and look for it. And it also helps with your rankings because you have pages specific to those cities with the and of course, in order for to gain ranking for those pages, you have to earn backlinks. This you can do from social media, local organizations you're involved in. For example, if you're involved in a chamber of commerce in multiple cities, typically you have a place where you can publish your profile on the chamber websites, and that can lead to a page that has the name of that city on that page on your website, because it has to be relevant and it has to be. Yeah, looks like something going on the internet in my office, so I'm connecting to my mobile hotspot, so hopefully you can hear me again, and this we won't lose the connection. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I've turned on my mobile hotspot, so hopefully this will stay up. Something going on with the Wi-Fi in the office. All right, so optimizing content for the landing pages. This is very similar to the SEO content, if you're familiar with it. If you have a WordPress website, we have talked about using the plugin, used plugin, which allows you to enter for the title tags, meta description, etc., with local specific keywords. Again, make sure you have a good list of keywords that you're targeting, and remember, in local landing page optimization, your key focus is to highlight the name of the city. So make sure that you are highlighting the name of the city along with the keyword. If you're talking about IT support, Frisco, Frisco has to be there in your keyword, in your content, for Google to make sense out of that content, and to figure out the semantics of it, that this is a service that's available to people in Frisco. And if you have for businesses, I know none of you here have multiple locations as a physical location. Uh, so if any businesses that you know who have that, so for those, These strategies vary quite a bit depending on it's a single physical location or multiple locations for brick and mortar businesses. So there are different ways to make sure that all these locations are listed and optimized for people to find you in local search results. Any questions? All right, moving on with the local landing page. So these are some of the questions that come up when people are writing local landing pages, and some of these questions are relevant to you as well. Let's say you serve 10 cities around you, right? So uh, do you have to create a page for each city? The answer is yes. You do, but you don't go about creating all those 10 pages at once. Make sure you kind of plan accordingly, depending on how you're receiving content for those places. We will talk about what type of content in the next slide. But just kind of schedule yourself to add these pages based on maybe add the top cities pages first. If you're in Plano, you may already have Plano as your default city name in all your content. If not, add landing page. If you kept it as generic, then go ahead and add page for Plano and add content related to Plano, right? So keep adding maybe 1 or 2 pages per month so that you can. This is how we strategize for our clients when we are optimizing for local search. We pick 1 or 2 cities per month and write content, static pages and blog content for those pages, and build links. So because you have to be doing all of these together. So if you picked Plano and Frisco for this month, make sure you're adding a static page with content on that page and maybe a few blog posts for those cities for the month, and build links from Facebook and few other external directories to those pages to kind of complete the strategy for those cities. And then keep adding, build upon it as you go. Do the same, repeat the exercise for all other cities that you want to focus on. And the next question that comes up, I put the same content with the city name swapped out on 20 different pages. Is this okay? Its answer is no. It's considered as duplicate content and it's of no use to you. So it's not just you can just have the same content with the city name swapped. It has to be unique content for each page. So that's the challenge a lot of businesses face, but we'll talk about it in the next slide, how to come up with content for different cities for different pages. And the next question is, I serve my whole state. Could I just optimize for that? So the answer is maybe. What you need to do for this is do a keyword research and see for the keywords that you're focusing on. If people are searching for the keyword, let's say pain relief therapy, Texas, is that a keyword search with considerable amount of volume on Google search engine? If that makes sense, then definitely you can add a page or optimize your entire site for the state of Texas. But typically, people don't search like that unless there are some certain specialized services. For example, in different parts of Texas, there are some oncology service centers where people go to get chemotherapy, especially in small towns. There are no oncology therapies, treatment centers in every small city. So in that case, if you have to locate a city where it's located, then probably you would look for around your zip code or in the state of Texas, then figure out what are these treatments, where are these treatment centers in Texas, and which one is close to you, things like that. So that can be a strategy. And the next question is, can I build a Google My Business listing for each of my service cities and earn rankings this way? Yes, you can, only if you have physical locations for each one of these cities. If you have a physical location in Frisco, Addison, Plano, and all these multiple, then you can have definitely can have a My Business page listing and optimize the page that way. Can I use virtual offices to create a presence in my service cities? No, you cannot. Google does not accept virtual office addresses or PO boxes as a valid physical locations to optimize for locations. However, even if you are a home-based business, you can use your home address as your address to list, but there is an option in all these platforms, anyway, in most of these major ones, where you can hide the street address of your home. That way, no one will, your street address is not publicly displayed to people. The city and zip code is displayed. That's an option that you remember to check when you are working on these profiles. And the next one is, what if I just put a list of my service cities on my homepage? That's always a good information to have for people to know when they land on your homepage from search engine. But again, it does not optimize for city. So for it to optimize for each city, you have to have you have to follow the optimization guidelines where the keyword cannot be more than 2% of your content, and all those things that you have to follow, which means you cannot have 10 cities listed as keywords on your homepage. You can have it in content for uh, people to see when they land on your homepage, but not for optimization. And the last question I have here, which we're going to look in the next slide, is how can I meet the challenge of creating unique content for each of my city landing page? So as I said, this is always a challenging issue for everyone to come up with. So here are some ideas on how to create unique content for local landing pages. Let's say you have clients from outside of Plano that you've done business with. So you can showcase completed projects in each city using texts and photos and publish customer testimonials from customers in those cities. Interview your service people if you have service people who serve those cities, introducing them to your customers. This applies to service businesses that go on site to provide services. Then create and publish city-related videos on each page and offer a transcript. Offer city-specific specials, city by city. Consider creating infographics specific to each city. So all of these will take work for you to come up with content, but once you have them, you can reuse this content for a long time. So that's why putting some time aside to work on these valuable content that you can use over and over again, or with a little tweaking, goes a long way. So do consider that. And next thing here, share advice and news regarding laws, codes, weather, different types of information about businesses or the city as it is relevant to your industry, right? For example, for Rayan, pain relief therapy for some people, winter months are hard to deal with pain. So maybe you can talk about what to do in those situations in Texas or the city of Plano, things like that. So come up with creative ways to create content. Provide unique do-it-yourself tips for things customers can do on their own. So again, you have to kind of be creative in creating videos and other content that makes sense in these situations, and create opportunities for user-generated content through contests and promotions. Share details of your involvement in specific cities, Chamber of Commerce or any other nonprofits that you're involved in, and then you can talk a little bit about your business on that page. So there are a lot of different ways that you can have unique content on your local landing page for each city. So these are some of things that you can start looking at. And again, these things you don't have to do overnight. Pick 1 or 2 cities per month and work on these ideas to create content for those. So that's everything that I covered on local SEO. I want to kind of see if as pertains to your business. So have you what have you done in terms of local SEO for your business? If you can share your thoughts before I switch to SEO. Where, whether it's something that you've done on your own, or if you have had people outside companies help you uh, on these efforts. So what kind of results have you seen, and what's the gap? What are your challenges? If we can share for a couple of minutes here. And think in the direction of local directories as it pertains to Google My Business page, Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare, Insider Pages. These are all the different profiles that you need to have your business. I know I cannot stress enough because that's the only way you can be visible and have brand presence on these local search engines. Yes, so all these are the challenges that uh, I understand. Uh, Biggest challenge is what to do and having the time to do it. So this exercise that I'm going through is to kind of educate you on what needs to be done, right? And see what what you can do on your own. There are things that you can do on your own to some extent without really getting frustrated and drowning yourself in it so that you get sucked in and don't have time for other things. So it's really important for you to figure out based on this information, okay, these are all the things I definitely have to do, and what's the best way to go about getting this done in next, let's say, 6 months, right? So what's your goal for next 6 months, starting, let's say, from next week, because we're already into May next week, right? So you set a goal for, typically for efforts like this, we make plans for a quarter, right? 1 quarter, right? So if it's the next quarter, if you want to achieve some things, and what's that going to be? So how many directories you want to be listed in, and how are you go about doing that? So uh, use whether you have resources to outsource this or do it on your own by digging more into it. So just kind of come up with a plan yourself for yourself and really do it. Because it's important to use this information to keep your presence online, because that's the way we are headed. And start doing things that we talked about reviews, right? So that's something that you don't have to do a whole lot right now. So if you already have satisfied clients that really appreciate your work and value your work, start sending them reminders about writing reviews. I'm not talking about receiving reviews on in the email. That's a good thing to have, so you can post on your website. But if you want a good online presence, they have to go themselves and post those reviews online. You cannot post it on their behalf, right? So this is make sure that at least you start doing the reviews and citations. So Deborah's question, can you tell us how your services work in this area, timing, cost, and we need to have in place? Yeah, for local search optimization, we provide a package. It takes about 3 to 4 months for us to complete all the submissions and get you to where you are at a stable position so you can start collecting reviews and start building upon it. So what that involves is it's $300 a month, and all these submissions are done manually for you. We have you fill out a spreadsheet that I keep bringing up. This spreadsheet is it's a pretty comprehensive kind of a business profile information sheet that we have you complete so that we have all the current information from you regarding your business. For instance, who the business owner is, who the right person to contact, what's your right phone number, and what's the email address. And of course, we also bring in all the keywords and we do the keyword research, write the description. You will provide us with a basic description of how you want based on your products and services, and we optimize those descriptions before we start creating these profiles and submitting your business to all these local directories. And in addition, we also have you identify 4 to 5 cities surrounding your physical location and write local landing pages for those cities. So this we try to accommodate in about 4 months to finish. And once we are done with it, you'll have access to all these profiles, and then we give you instructions on how to build upon these what we gave you, whether it's be by having a content strategy to have more content for each of these cities surrounding your physical location, or how to continue to build quality links to these as and when you have speaking engagements and services that you provide from other areas into these landing pages. So we give you instructions on those. So yeah, that's in a nutshell what we cover, the timing and the cost and what's covered in our local search optimization packages. Does that answer your question, Deborah? All right. I have a slide here for SEO. I know this SEO is a big elephant in the room. It keeps changing, and it's hard for even for us to keep up with. But we do. We keep a close eye on it and stay on top of any changes that are coming to the algorithms that Google is making to their search algorithm. And so Google has slowed down now making changes to the algorithm because they pretty much kind of hammered on it for past several years to take care of all the black hat SEO techniques that people were using to take advantage of the holes that were in the search algorithm in both content and link building and everything. But still, it's a lot of work. SEO is a lot of work. It's a long-term strategy. But once you reach that ranking on the search engines like Google, then you're in a good place. So you're there, and your next goal is to really take advantage of the traffic that comes to your website to those search engines. So let's talk about the few bullet points here that are really critical for SEO. 2 years ago, I think in 2015, Google made a big announcement that all businesses have to have mobile website, which is not just for the sake of Google for ranking purposes. It's really where Google is coming from in that guideline is to make the browsing experience to have for users to have a good browsing experience online when they are using your website on their handheld devices, which is mobile phones in most of the cases, right? So Google does not really penalize you for not having a mobile website, but it's for your own reputation and really build that engagement on mobile is why mobile website is important to have good navigation on mobile phones so that users can navigate to the pages that are important for them to get the information that they need when they land on your website. If you don't have a mobile website, Google will send them. Google will send them to your desktop version of the site, which is not really user friendly. So Google doesn't have to do anything. Users will drop out, and you don't get any engagement. So that's where that comes into play. And the next thing is SSL certificate. So this is one of the big things that Google announced last year, which is going to affect your search engine ranking, which you don't have the SSL certificate. Google is going to start using signals for SSL, especially if you're collecting any information on your website from a form. So where users are entering their name, their email address, phone number, and things like that. This is all considered personal information to the user, and Google does require you to have encrypted browsing enabled with SSL certificate on your website. So that's the HTTPS link versus HTTP, right? So that um, it's a safe browsing practice, so that when the uh, data is transferred from the front end, which is the browser, to the server. For example, you have your WordPress website, right? When you log into WP admin, if you uh, if you don't have HTTPS, when you log in to the backend, that login information can be hijacked because it's not encrypted. Even just for you with that example, right? So that can be hijacked, and people can try to hack into your website using that information. So the same thing applies if you have any member login type of stuff on your website. Or the form information that's transferred from browser to the server for storing purposes, all this information can be hijacked and used for spamming and hacking. So page load speed. So this is another important thing. So make sure, when you have a website, there are different tools that you can run your website through to find any technical issues that may be slowing your website down, like JavaScripts and not optimized code. And a lot of times the culprit is heavy images and files on your website. So make sure images are optimized and loaded on the website so that it's not taking a lot of time to load when the first time the user is trying to load your website. Because that's one reason why people bail out of websites when it's taking too long to load. Broken links and duplicate content. Broken links, this is something you definitely need to keep track of. And for all of these, this is why I stress on Google Search Console. And all of this information is available to you on Google Search Console. Once you build the profile, Google keeps track of it for you. So you just have to go in there and look at the reports every once in a while to look at the health of your website and kind of take care of them. Same thing with if the website is hacked by malware. Google is not, depending on how you have set up your crawling for your website, let's say once a week or once a month. So the next time Google crawls, if it finds malware on your website, it's going to report to you on your Search Console, and it's also going to report to the users on the front end when they try to land on your website. So make sure you check this Search Console report periodically to make sure that your website is working properly. And for the optimization itself is concerned, again, we have talked about this in the context of local search. This goes a little bit beyond that, the meta titles and meta descriptions. So the same keyword research applies here as well. But for SEO, organic, you have to really follow the guidelines for how many keywords you can have on each page, and using a tool like Yoast, it will help you stay on track and make sure your content pages are compliant with the SEO guidelines. And again, Google, one of the big changes Google made to search algorithm is it's making it even more smarter than it used to be. So you don't have to have the keyword phrases exactly like people are looking for. Um, uh, So it's the semantics what the Google is looking for. Google is able to figure out what you do, and if whether it's relevant to what the user is searching for, even without having a exact key phrase in the content. So just make sure the content is organic. It's not just made up just for the purpose of optimizing. It flows naturally and really talks about what that serve that page is meant for that product or service, and that's then you're good to go. And backlinks, this is an ongoing thing, and it's still a critical criteria for websites. Make sure you're building backlinks from good websites, not from everywhere. So it has to be websites that have good authority and rating, right? And content, high quality, fresh, and relevant content in order to keep your users engaged. So these are all some of the SEO basics. That's a lot of information to kind of you can dissect each one of these bullets and get more deep into it. Do you have any questions on this slide? So make sure that we have one more session that's for the spring that's coming up on, I believe that our next session, the session 4, is on May 24th. That's our last sessions for the spring. I don't have any scheduled for the summer because there's going to be travels and stuff. So we're going to have a few sessions in the fall. We're going to be talking about marketing automation and other stuff in those sessions. But in the next session, we're going to continue a little more with the Google strategies and a few other things as it pertains to the search engine and content marketing. We'll wrap up that theme before we move on to other topics in the fall. And also Google Partners Connect, that's next week. If you have not registered, I think the last email, a reminder registration email went out today. Remember, it's not a webinar. You have to be at the physical location to join me for the streaming from California. This is a event that we co-host with Google. And this coincidentally, the topic that we're going to cover on May 2nd is on local search. Because as I said, Google has been stressing on this for local businesses. So they are bringing this in for to Google partners. So if you are scheduled permits, go ahead and register if you haven't already. And we'll see you next week. And if you want a copy of this presentation, shoot me an email or type yes in the chat box. I will send it to you. And that's all I have. Thank you for joining.